Hi, this is Garibay, and today we're going to talk about why I think Dungeons and Dragons Feywild is going to be a failure. So I'm talking about the book that's coming out. It's called The Wild Beyond the Witchlight. It's an adventure, and I dislike adventures, but I don't actually think that's going to be the reason it fails. I think the reason it fails is going to be because the Feywild is undefined. It is my opinion that the Feywild is undefined by Wizards of the Coast. So I didn't know this, but I recently found out the Feywild only goes back to the 4th edition. It's crazy. It was actually invented in the 4th edition. And now, actually, I think, the idea of the Feywild is a good idea in that, is it, I don't know. I think, I think the Feywild overall is just a failure. So here's my point. So basically, I think what they're saying is the Feywild is, from everything I think the Wild Beyond the Witchlight will fail because the Feywild does not make sense and is not well defined. So let's get into it. Okay. So I think the intent for the Feywild was to take a whole bunch of very elf adjacent terrain types: forest, enchanted forest, deep forest, arboreal area, like a whole bunch of ideas that had been a whole bunch of stuff that had been to combine what was in Mystara and Greyhawk and in Forgotten Realms and call it, the Feywild, one catch term. I actually love categorizing things and giving one catch term. I think that's great. It's really needed. But when they came in on the Feywild, here's my issue. I don't think it makes sense. I don't think fundamentally, if you say, what is the Feywild, there's not going to be a simple answer back. So the answers back that I've already heard are the following. They are saying, here's what the Feywild is. They're saying the Feywild is enchanted. It's for fairies live there, giants and hags and dryads and all kinds of creatures, and deep enchanted forest are all in the Feywild, right? But I get that, right? But the thing is, where is it, right? Well, one of the answers that has been proffered back is that the Feywild is everywhere. The Feywild is like the astral plane, where the Feywild exists and it layers over our world, right? Now the other thing, and so basically the idea is, if you go to the Silver Griffin Inn, you should be able to go to the Silver Griffin Inn in the Feywild, right? And in the Feywild, the Silver Griffin Inn will not be a physical inn. It will be a conglomeration of the emotions. So the emotions that exist in that space, in that geographical space, okay? But it's also it's magical, so it might be different, and it might drift, and it might be warped and strange, and just, of course, if you're going to if there's an entire realm where it's all the emotional resonance of objects and people and weather effects, yeah, it's going to get really weird. It's going to get weird fast. And they're like, hey, the Fae is really dangerous and really weird, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm down for things being dangerous and weird, but it needs to make sense. So how does this make sense, right? Is the Feywild everywhere? Is the Feywild an overlay of a lot of places? Now, this is a big deal because Ravenloft, that setting, it drifts. It's not everywhere. It drifts into different spaces and it overlays other physical spaces. That is incredibly cool, and it makes sense, right? And it puts a limit on it, right? But the limits on the Feywild aren't known, right? Basically, does the Feywild arch over every geographical space? We don't know the answer to that, and that kind of bothers me because I don't really get it, right? Where's the ends of it? Where's the beginning of it? And they're like, oh, you don't need to know that to understand this. And I'm like, yeah, I can make my own setting where I understand it. So if you want me to use your setting, you darn well better make me understand it, right? And frankly, with the Feywild, I don't understand it. I don't understand where it begins and where it ends, right? The other thing is, the other issue is this the realm of elves, right? Or are elves just more welcome in it because they're more aligned to nature, right? The other thing is the Feywild pro-nature, right? As opposed to dwarves who are we will cut the heart out of a mountain in order to forge something. Like they're pretty anti-nature, right? Like dwarves are definitely rolling coal, right? Like there's no question about it, right? So that's the other thing is what is elves' actual relationship to the Feywild? So there's just too many questions, too many unanswered questions, and it's too ill-defined. I pay attention to the dragons, and I don't understand the Feywild. Like, can you imagine casuals coming in? They definitely ain't going to get it. And that's why I think, in my opinion, The Wild Beyond the Witchlight is going to be a failed source book. That's my 2 cents. What do you think? Give me your nickel. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think that The Wild Beyond the Witchlight will succeed? Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.